everyone. We're going to get started. Wrapping up conversations, focusing on me. Feel like a teacher at the front of the room. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Constellate Chilling.
Snarl.
Oh, man. Good one.
Thank you.
We're really glad that you're here tonight. We have a fantastic show for you, a number of great storytellers. Before we get started, it's important at, I think, all gatherings to acknowledge that we are on the unceded, unsurrendered land of the Mi'kmaq people. We are located in Kutchibooktuk. And I don't know if anyone, well, actually, I do know that some of you were here for our last show where we supported the Stop Alton Gas project, which has been shut down. Yeah.
Now,
So
I
that
don't.
is one small battle won, but of course it's important to continue to remember the importance of recognizing this land and not who it belongs to, but who we are and where we come from and who the original owners are. Original settlers, not settlers. I'm going to stop. Caretakers, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at with the legal costs and everything like that. I know that the project was canceled, but we were kind of supporting some of the legal funds because there's still some people that are going to be taken to court for
Absolutely.
their activities. So, yeah.
My name is Emma. I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Greg.
Old Greg.
Snarl. Happy Halloween is my favorite week of the year.
Which?
It's a month thing. Yeah, it's true.
Spooky season. Thank you for joining us for our potentially spooky themed show. Before we get started, we also like to start with some, I keep saying before we get started, but we have started. So we like to welcome people in various ways. You're first.
I would like to welcome everybody that has been experiencing a lot of life changes recently during this changing season. I certainly have, and sometimes it can be a bit of a whirlwind. So good on you for getting through it. Kind of talking to myself right now. Well done.
You're
welcome.
doing great. Oh, thank you. I would like to welcome everybody who is getting ready for some low-key chill time in the coming months as we embrace chillier weather and maybe have some time to settle. I think maybe I'm also talking to myself a little bit here and hoping that that actually happens. I hope that you get some time to relax and chill out.
You're not alone.
I feel like our welcomes this week or this month are really tailored to us. I'd like to welcome everybody whose favorite holiday of the year is Halloween. Yeah.
Lastly, I'd like to welcome everybody who is maybe feeling a little bit unsure about being sharing of themselves lately. I think as we come out of into phase 5, into more open pandemic, more pre-pandemic like spaces, it can be a little bit hard to adjust and hard to get back into vulnerability and getting in touch with each other. So anyone who's kind of struggling through that, welcome.
Yeah.
That one actually wasn't about me. I'm doing fine. Jokes.
I'd also, I mean, we normally just do 2 welcomes each, but I would like to do a third one and welcome anyone that's less than 10 days old. We have a newborn baby in the room.
There is one in our midst.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? Magic.
First storytelling event.
As you might have found out already, there is one bathroom. I'm just going to do some housekeeping stuff. So we're going to have 2 storytellers at the beginning half of the show. We have 3 fantastic storytellers for you tonight. We have an opportunity for an audience member to tell a story after intermission. So we'll have 2 storytellers, an intermission, a surprise audience story, hopefully, if anyone is feeling like being generous of themselves and their experiences. You can enter into this fabric bin. It's going to be lovely. We're going to have a little mini quiet drum roll. And then we have a final storyteller to close out the evening for us. We'll probably finish around 10 o'clock is the aim. The bar shuts down tonight. Last call's at 11, and everybody has to get out by 11:30. So
Last call's at 10:45, right? Yeah.
Oh,
No more alcohol served
Never
after
mind.
11.
okay. That was correct. And so after the show, you're welcome to stick around, have a couple drinks, chat with me and Greg, chat with each other. Of course, masks on if you're interacting between different groups, even though a lot of you know each other here already, but that's fine. Oh yeah, bathrooms around the corner. Is there anything else? Housekeeping stuff? Tip
Our
your
bartender is Stephen this evening.
Yeah.
Stephen, how welcoming are you of bar service? Super welcoming. So feel free to get up, grab a drink. Food, last call for food is 9:45? Okay, so if you need food, get it now. Keep your hands away from the candles. I think that's about it, yeah. No.
Okay, cool. That's great. Okay, I think that's everything that we need for. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone right now, which is rude, but it's because there was something that was supposed to be done and it didn't get done. I'm sorry about that.
That's me. That was on me. I'm having a bit of a hard weekend.
You said you had a great weekend.
I've been partying pretty hard. I met this new group of friends. It's a biker gang. They're a great bunch of guys. But yeah, we were partying pretty hard, and they really took a lot out of me, and they really suck, actually. Then I went back and because I met them online, and you know how I'm not very good with details, and it turns out it wasn't a biker gang, but a biter gang. That's on me. Okay.
People are walking out already.
That is courage.
Oh man.
Does anybody get the Lost Boys reference? No? Yeah, I want to take a moment to recognize this hallowed week. And I would be interested in everybody just thinking momentarily about their favorite Halloween movie. And then we'll all shout it out on the count of 3. You got your favorite Halloween movie?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. American Werewolf in London!
Thank you, everybody. We're not going to do a shout out one, but I would like everyone to think about their favorite Halloween costume they've ever been. Sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I lie in bed and I try and remember every costume I've ever dressed up as for Halloween or otherwise in chronological order. Yeah, I know it's a lot. Eventually I fall asleep because that's kind of a boring activity. But I think there's only one costume that I've actually repeated. I've been a cat numerous times, but always a different kind of cat. One year I was a white cat when I was 5, and then in high school I was a Siamese cat. So they're different costumes. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'd like to make another suggestion for our open storytelling, like for the audience member when they put their name into the hat. I think that people, normally we ask people to tell a true story, but I'd like to suggest that people could also tell the story of the character that they're going to dress up as for Halloween. And then we can all try to figure out who you are.
Of the character or as the character?
As the character.
Oh, wow.
So you go up there and you talk about how you had your head chopped off, and then you replaced it with a pumpkin, and then you're like going around stealing people's heads.
Okay. I mean, sure, if you want to do that. I like true stories, but,
But they're
there's a
true
time and
from the
place for
character's
everything.
perspective.
Okay. If you feel inspired by this direction from Greg, then you enter your name in there, and you tell that story as whoever you want to be. I encourage it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also want to encourage, Greg and I kind of intentionally choose ambiguous themes or themes that can be interpreted in multiple ways with the intention of having various stories. And we are thinking with chilling that there could be literally chilling, cold experiences, or like relaxing, times of like someone who's a very chill person surrounded by people who buzz all around them and what it's like to be them, or like a, kind of like a sexy Netflix and chill story. And that didn't really happen. We have a lot of more like harrowing kind of stories, which is fun. But I encourage you, in terms of your entry into to volunteer yourself to tell a story later on, to think about alternative themes and what chilling means to you. We also didn't describe the parameters of that story, so I will just say that now. Each of our storytellers that Greg and I have worked with throughout the last month and met with, they speak for 15 to 20 minutes-ish, give or take. When you are randomly pulled, we usually cap out at about 10. I have a bike light that I will flash at you from probably over there. And that's kind of your warning to start wrapping it up. So you will kind of have a notice where if you're blathering, I will give you a little notice to maybe wrap it up. But also I'm not going to kick you off stage. That's fine. We don't do that unless you're being a bigot. But that's never happened here, so that's great. Speaking of different interpretations of the theme, the ticket sales from tonight, so all of your ticket sales and additional donations, if you are feeling generous tonight, we have a donation tube at the back of the room for cash. Anyone who's tuned into the live stream can donate by e-transferring to constellate.stories@gmail.com, and we will transfer all of the funds that we have raised to Out of the Cold Community Association. Yeah.
Out of the Cold Community Association operates Out of the Cold shelter in Halifax, Tubuktuk, a community-based shelter offering low barrier support. They operate annually to provide shelter when temperatures drop to dangerous levels. So this is particularly important right now because we're getting colder temperatures, and as all of you know, there is a housing crisis here in Halifax, and we've got a lot of people struggling up at People's Park, and so this type of association is really important for some people this time of year.
We've been communicating back and forth with Out of the Cold, as we always do with the different nonprofits that we support, and they're very grateful for your generosity and for our donations to be going to them tonight. They also let me know that they are celebrating tonight because they've just received word that they've been approved for full funding for the next year. Yeah. So that's great. They're going strong. And anything that we give tonight, of course, is going to continue to help them support providing shelter for people who need it.
Nice one.
I think we're good to go.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you make enough bad jokes?
No, I've got some for later.
Okay, we'll save those. Okay, let's get started then. So our first storyteller of the night, he has been up here once before, but as one of the random audience members, put his name in and shared a story maybe last summer? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, thank you. He is an absolute delight. He is very special to me. We've been friends for a couple years, and we actually met here at Constellate, which is really special. He was brought here by a mutual friend, and it's weird to think of now, thinking of that moment and how much our lives have changed in these kind of like parallel ways, and the connections that we have made and the intimacy and vulnerability that we have shared. And I'm very, very excited that he wanted to come up and share a story with you tonight. And excited that you get to experience a little bit of some of him and his memories and his experiences. Greg, we ready to sanitize this one?
Yes.
Okay. Please welcome to the stage Roberto Montiel.
Hello, everybody. Okay. I thought I was not going to be nervous, and I am nervous. So that's the first spooky part of the fucking story. But it's going to be a spooky story, and as all spooky stories, or almost all spooky stories, this one starts with parental love. It's pretty much at the core of every horror story there is. The fact, like, daddy issues, mommy issues, like Frankenstein kind of daddy issues, like big daddy issues right there. So this about starts with my relationship with my mom, and probably before I got 5, I had a very, very close relationship with my mom. We just pretty much my world. We shared this very deep bond of intuition. Our intuition bonded us. We would dream things and see things, and then we would discuss those things. And we also shared a very hyperactive imagination. So those two. And I spent a lot of time by myself. I spent a lot of time playing by myself. So I would go with my mom. I would tell her I had visitors every day, like playmates that would come. It's like, oh yeah, there was this really kind old man who came today, and I was playing with him. And then the next day, it's like, oh yeah, and there was like this really lovely lady who came and played with me, and had like all these people who would come and play with me. And then my brother came. I was 5, and my mom died for a few seconds. She was declared clinically dead, and she pretty much came back to life as my brother was taking his first breath. So that created a bond between those two that was absolutely unique. Their bodies kind of got entwined. So my mom would feel my brother's pain, his fears, his anxieties. So she started transferring all the protection that she would give to me to him, and also the affection. So about that time, she kind of has made her mind that I have to be the man of the house. My dad was not around that much at that time, and when he was around, he was not a delight to be with. So she kind of put that on me, like, you have to be the man now. And she started toughening me up in this way of, okay, every time that you do something bad, I'm going to withhold affection. And I'm going to withhold affection over and over again. And I am the one person who judges what is good and what is bad. So that went on for a few years. And then I became a very fucking tough kid. So around 13, 14, my mom comes and picks me up at school. And it was very, very weird because I walked back from school as all the tough kids did. I was like, I'm not going to have my mom picking me up. Like, so when she told me in the morning, I'm going to pick you up, I was like, no, you're going to be like a few blocks away. I'm going to see you there when no one's going to see me. And that's what she did. She obliged, to her credit. Gone to a car, and I was like, okay, what the fuck? What do you want? Why did you come and pick me up? And she tells me, she uses the whole ride to tell me that she's dying. She has this really rare illness that is messing her muscles up, and that she has seen I don't know how many doctors, and that she has about 2 or 3 more years. All that information was like just like flying over my head. The one thing that I do remember to this day was that she told me, now I need you to grow up. That really fucking stuck. And when she told me that, I thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to do what all the grown-up men do in this family, particularly when they are under stress. So I started drinking to fucking oblivion. I started getting anything into my system that would fuck me up. I started lashing out real bad, partying like there was no tomorrow. And then I started thinking, well, you know, I'm getting back on my mom with this one. I'm breaking my mom's heart, just the same as she broke mine. And I did that for several years. And at that time, I started seeing shit again. But this time, the people that would visit me were not like these lively, lovely characters that visited me in the past. Now I see that people. Now there's like this distorted, ugly fucking figures that would be coming and visiting me at night. It always happened at night. And I was scared to death to fall asleep. So I developed this sleeping disorder that still stands today. And the worst of all the shit that I was seeing was I started having this visitor that was this kind of hovering void that would be over me. It was like, fuck, like really dense, impenetrably dense, and drooling. I would be fucking sucking in. And every muscle in my body would stiffen. And I would just close my eyes, and I would feel how it would get like kicked out of my body. I would be able to see myself sleeping. And yeah, I really didn't like sleeping. So, this particular night, now let's get into the spooky story. All this is context. This is what we call Act 1 in Mexican. Let's move to the story. It's going to be really short. Okay, so now the spooky story. So there's this particular night in which I get all the fucking symptoms. So it's like all the hair in my body is like start like you know, like that Spider-Man thing. Like and the muscles. I was like, fuck, I cannot move now. It's like shit. But I'm waiting to get kicked out of my body, and that's not happening. What's happening is I start hearing distinct sounds in the living room. It's like these little steps, little feet tapping and running around. And then after that was like some giggling, and after the giggling, I started like hearing these bells my mom had in the diner room, and it's like someone sounding the fucking bells. And so I get out of my body, and I decided to go to the living room. So I was used to get kicked of it, and I just got out. So I see myself like, okay, there you are. See you in a minute, buddy. I go downstairs, and I see this little girl that's like running around. And I just stand there. She looked at me, scared, both of us, of each other. We cannot move. And I get to see into those deep, dark eyes. And there's so much despair and tragedy in those eyes. And I am suddenly like flooded by compassion towards this little girl. And as I start feeling that shit, like almost like sucked into my body, kind of like slurped into it. I was like, shit again, I'm here, and I cannot move, and I cannot move because I'm seeing that fucking horrible void, and it's like raging. It's like the worst it has been, like it's really bad. And I'm feeling like I'm choking. And then I feel my mom coming in. I cannot hear what she's saying. I just see that she's screaming her lungs out. And she cast that shit off. Okay, she shouted that thing off. It just dissipated. And I'm able to fall asleep. And the dream that followed, I remember to this day. I'm about 5 years old and get out of the bed and walk through the hallway towards my parents' room. Go to my mom's bedside and I ask her, Mom, can I sleep with you? And she opens her sheet, puts the sheet, and she gives me the sweetest smile she has given me. I don't know since when. And she covers me in this like warm embrace, and I feel so held. And I had the best sleep I had in months, perhaps years. So I woke up the next morning, very good mood, fantastic sleep. I'm having breakfast with my mom, and I tell her what I saw. Like I had this dream, and it was this little girl. And as I'm telling her that, I just see like her eyes keep gaping and gaping. And then she's like, yeah, it's a little girl, really pale, dark black hair, deep dark eyes. Yeah, I saw that. And then I saw you looking at her. And you vanished. And I got into this anxiety. I got really scared. And I stormed into your room. And I found you lying, being tortured by this horrible thing. And I screamed, I screamed at it, and I screamed at it, and I screamed at it until it left. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what happened. However, the dream I had after was fucking great. It was after that, I went to your bedside, and I'm very little. And at that time, I'm very excited, and she's very excited too. And we're like finishing each other's sentences. Like it's really lovely. That's probably the closest we had been in more than 10 years. And the closest we would have been for a very long time after that. So back to a relationship with the mom. in Spanish, we have two expressions for I love you. There's one that is like very casual, just like a burst of enthusiasm. You use it for everything, really. It's just te quiero. And then we have te amo, and that one goes very, very deep. Like, you don't say that unless like you fucking mean it. And that one is like, it runs into your soul. You don't say you say that because it's like, that's intimacy. So until very recently, and when I say very recently, I'm saying like a few weeks ago, I had never been able to say, like perhaps after I was a kid, to tell my mom, te amo. I would always say, te quiero. Like, just didn't come. Just couldn't say it. And yeah, until very recently, I started feeling like this thing of, oh fuck, linear time. It's my nemesis. Like that 5 minute, okay. Sure. Wrap up. So I started telling that very recently. We text often, often perhaps 2 or 3 times a week, and I started using those words, and I started like noticing, shit, I'm actually saying this, and I'm meaning it. And I started to think, what changed? What was the recent change? And recently too, I was visited by this force that I have not seen in fucking years, a very, very long time. It was a moment in which I'm just coming from the end of an intimate relationship with someone. And it was at a moment, a night in which I knew it was over. Like, it was officially over perhaps a week after that, but that night I knew, yeah, this is done. And that night, that force, like, I feel it, and I don't have to bore you with all the details of like the stiffening of the body and all that shit. But something changed. I'm not kicked out of my body. I am still in my body. And I was like, okay, I'm here. Have some agency here. And I start dancing. I close my eyes and I start dancing. And I dance, and I dance, and I dance. And with every step, like particularly the real cool ones, like those, every step, that shit was like vanishing. And then it left. And I think that left me with a couple of certainties that are very deeply seated right now. I feel it right at my core. One is I now can dance my demons away. The other one is yo amo a mi mamá. Thank you for being so lovely and for listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Roberto. Muchísimas gracias, amigo. Qué lindo. Who's got mommy issues? Yeah. One of the amazing Things to come out of Constellate and what Em and I do on a monthly basis is meeting up with people and helping them to develop their stories. And sometimes it can turn into like a real therapy session. And Roberto and I certainly bonded over mommy issues. So thank you for sharing. Thanks, buddy. Speaking of mom issues, I went and saw Dune last night. I took a hit of acid before going. Wow, it was so good. I grew up on Dune, and man, I was a little bit weird when I first got here and started setting up the equipment because I still have my feet in the sand of Arrakis right now. But yeah, poor Paul Atreides, he's got some mommy issues, doesn't he? That's a little inside. Frank Herbert fan, anyone? Dune? Yeah, cool. Ben Gesserit, eh? God, mess you right up. Okay, so this is just a conversation between me and another person right now, so I'll move on. Our next storyteller, I'm super excited about. I haven't really had such a strong history with any of our storytellers like I do with this next one. This next storyteller is an old friend from Ontario. We went to high school together, and we've reconnected here in Halifax. And I'm so thankful for that because he's a wicked character. He's a really good guy, and he's got a big heart, and he's very sweet. And I'm thankful that you're back in my life. Likewise. Yeah, I think that we'll just leave it at that. Tim's an awesome guy. He works here in the city, and he makes things beautiful in our community for us. He works at the city. What do you? Public Gardens. I was going to call it City Gardens, but Public Gardens. So yeah, he's a good guy, and also a very amazing local musician. So keep your eyes and ears open for some of his stuff in the near future. But we're not going to do that tonight. We're going to do storytelling. So please welcome to the stage my good old friend, Timothy Hutchings.
Thanks so much, Craig. Live. All right, cool. Yeah. Pretty wicked serendipity. To be asked to come. I didn't even know that they were about this event, so I'm super thrilled to actually know about it now. And I've never really thought of myself as much of a storyteller, but I'm gonna do my best. It's I think I told Greg a little bit about this story, and he was intrigued, and I guess it fell in line with the theme of the night. So yeah, here goes. Yeah, and it also, I guess, the other serendipitous part about this is that it's the 25th anniversary of this story that I'm going to tell, which definitely has some meaning in my life. So yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, I had just turned 15. And yeah, it was my first month of grade 10. I had this friend at the time. who was basically, we just like smoked lots of weed together, you know. We lived in a very small town, and yeah, went to high school together. But yeah, and he scored tickets to see Marilyn Manson. So yeah, this is '96. Just to put it in a little bit of perspective here. Yeah, I just turned 40 actually, and so I had just turned 15 at the time. Yeah, so yeah, this little town is about an hour west of Toronto. Yeah, kind of like nestled within a bunch of country roads and farmers' fields. I worked at a little pub, washing dishes, and I remember there was a TV that was like placed above these pool tables. It was a very like smoky corner of the pub, and like normally there was sports on the TV, of course. But yeah, on this day they had it tuned to Much Music, and I remember the video for the song "Beautiful People" came on, and it was actually the debut of the song. And some friends of mine were sitting at a nearby table, and I just remember that it just seemed like it was like the creepiest, most extreme like music video we'd ever seen, and we were all just kind of like captivated by it, and really I think captured our imagination and attention, and also the disgust of some of the older locals who were there just like trying to play pool. But there was this collective silence in the pub when this video was on, and I recall thinking, like, yeah, my parents are gonna hate this, which made me like it even more. And I think it was the same for my pals. And yeah, and so like the idea of seeing this live was exciting. And like although we wouldn't I think admit it at the time, I think we all felt like a bit apprehensive as well. As like 15-year-olds, the music and like some of the ideology behind it had this like quality of like feeling like kind of like revolutionary. I mean, we were like kids and didn't have the context of all of his influences, so it all just kind of like blew our minds. And yeah, and so like going to the show, it almost felt like we were like a part of this like teen revolution. We're gonna go to this Manson show. Parents are gonna hate it, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And also, Manson was on the cusp of becoming like really big. Like he wasn't like quite there yet, but so there was that feeling. He was like on the rise, and we also liked the things that he like intelligently spoke of in interviews that we watched. Like he would talk about like fierce individuality, rejecting the stronghold of Christian ideals in society, challenging the status quos, just typical rock and roll stuff, really. Yeah, so Manson, kind of represented being different and also being like truly yourself. And yeah, at 15, like we were definitely also awkwardly trying to figure out what all that even meant for us. Trying to like sort out our identity. And yeah, I had grown sort of accustomed to feeling like the outsider in a couple of the small towns that I lived in throughout my childhood. Just not being fully white, and I also had like a bad stutter when I was a kid, which still actually comes and goes, but and I was just like very like socially awkward, and like I wasn't into sports. I was like this kind of art weirdo. So yeah, this like a musical artist that kind of embraced like the outsider. It seemed appealing at the time, and of course, like little did I know at the time, that this person would be revealed to be years later as not someone that I would choose to support in any way, as we're all finding out over the last year. But a number of kids at our high school had actually gotten tickets. This was like a big event, and the day before the show, a friend of mine that I was actually I think I was playing in a band with at the time, he came up to me and just asked like, yeah, like, are you gonna like dress up? Like, you gonna like get some makeup? And I guess just getting excited for the show and getting like ready for it. And I remember just saying, no, I think I'm just gonna go like my normal self, just what I usually wear. And he looked at me and he said, normal, and then just walked away. So yeah, I think that was like the start of some anxiety that I was feeling about going to this show. And I was like, oh boy, what am I getting myself into? But and I was also like feeling a bit insecure about my friendships at the time. It was just like a lot of it like kind of like revolved around drug use, and I'd done acid just a couple times and smoked lots of weed, but just typical teen life in a small town. And I knew it was going to be a very, very intense show, and the four of us had like formed a plan to find acid and to take acid for the show. So that definitely, I mean, it was an exciting idea, but also it gave me that extra little bit of anxiety as well. But we just wanted to, of course, take it to the next level. So, and also I had a few months previously, I went and saw the band Ministry on like a bunch of mushrooms, and I figured, yeah, what could go wrong with this? This is like pretty similar. And yes, I was 14 at the time, so so I was pretty quiet on the drive. A friend's dad was driving the four of us, and of course we had all just dropped acid. And I remember like an image of an eyeball had formed on the dashboard somewhere, and it was like staring at me like the whole drive through. So the acid was definitely kicking in at that point. It was in full effect by the time we got there. And I had also gone through with my plan of not dressing up, and I was just, I decided on not to dress like. I mean, we had this term in school after this, Mansonites. It was like, I'm not gonna dress like that. I'm just gonna be myself. And but then I get there, and of course, like all the kids in the line it's like it's full on goth gear. And I mean, like incredible outfits actually. Like all these like young kids in like wild makeup, and everything that you would imagine. And a friend of mine that we ran into I remember was wearing his mom's pink slip, and had like lipstick smeared all over his face, which I thought was amazing. But it made me, it was like, wow, I'm really not that right now. And I think and I was definitely like felt like judged by a lot of kids, like for looking so normal. But by the time we got inside, I was tripping pretty hard, and my anxiety was through the roof. Of course, I was unable to speak with anybody at the time that we ran into from school, and it was like hard to recognize anybody. Everyone was like the spooky versions of themselves, and one friend I remember asked me if I was doing okay, and I don't even think I responded. So and then Manson hits the stage, and obviously looked pretty striking. I remember he was wearing what kind of looked like bondage gear type outfit, and I remember he had these all these like long white straps coming off his arms, and he also looked like a demon from another like world or something. Very intense. And the music was like the loudest I'd ever experienced in my life. I remember it like thinking that it felt like a wall had like formed around me of music. And this like impenetrable wall that I couldn't escape. And then I slowly started paying attention to the lyrics. And like at this point in time, it was like 2 weeks after the album Antichrist Superstar had come out, so it was all like very fresh. So we were all like taking it in for the first time. But lyrics like each time I make my mother cry, an angel dies and falls from heaven. When the boy is still a worm, it's hard to learn the number 7. And prick your finger, it is done. The moon has now eclipsed the sun. The angel has spread its wings. The time has come for bitter things. So, pretty intense stuff, especially on acid. And I started believing that Manson was like singing about me and to me directly, which led me to think that the entire show had been actually like designed to expose me and my life up to then. So pretty heavy. And that I was brought there to have all my fears exposed and to go through like a death and like get my wings. Everything that happened after this time had like personal meaning, and I was like trying to like catch all the messages. That's what was happening in my head, and Manson was like this messenger of death and decay, who was like forcing me to look at my life and like where it had been a lie. It got really emotional during the song called Minute of Decay, where he was like repeating the phrase, "I'm on my way down now, I'd like to take you with me." Manson had also just gashed his own stomach with broken glass on the stage. And there seemed to be like a spiral that was coming from him and like down to me, and his arms were outstretched, seemingly to me, and it started actually at this point. It started gently snowing in the venue itself, and it actually wasn't a hallucination. And the flakes were like hitting my face, and they felt like tears. And that was the moment that I felt like I was dying. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from his tour diary, and it's an entry from that night. So he's talking about the same time. He said, "For a moment tonight, I felt like Christ. It was snowing on me, and I could have been anywhere: Wichita, Berlin, Golgotha. There was a mirror behind the crowd on the wall, and I watched myself like a painting frozen. The gash in my side bled and bled. It was so beautiful. I cried right there in front of 5,000 people. I was letting out the boy who had died on his plastic cross in elementary school. He escaped through the hole in my ribs." So I guess we were like on the same page a little bit. There's a lot going on. I guess it wasn't all in my head. I don't know. At the very end of the show, there were just thousands of kids scrambling. I stood there, just frozen. I believed that I had just died, and it was now the journey to hell. I tried to actually run from my friends, and actually, thankfully, they got me and back to the car that was waiting for us, and my friend's dad. So the drive home represented like this descent into hell, and me like trying to escape this fate in all these ways. I actually I tried to open the car door on the 401, and of course everybody in the car was at that point was freaking out, and like realized that I was like really not okay. Yeah, my friends were also like getting pissed, and I think like yelling at me, because they were also like having their cover blown, and they were I think worried that they were gonna get in shit. At one point, I was looking at the stereo, and the display, it showed the volume was in like negative decibels, and so I was like, no, I gotta like turn it up, like I'm trying to get into like the positive. So I just like I cranked the stereo and nearly blew everybody's eardrums, because in my mind I was like, I'm trying to get out of hell. So yeah, finally they got me home and like knocked on the door, and my mom answered the door and was like super angry and confused why she was being woken up, which is like fair enough. But I don't think that she like clued in, what was going on. She's like half asleep, but I believed at that moment that she was Satan, and was like planning to torture me the next day. I thought my brother, who I shared a room with, was Satan's watcher, who was making sure that I didn't escape. So yeah, I didn't sleep a wink that night. And like the next morning, my mom came in, and my eyes, I guess, were just like, like this, because I thought that like bad things were gonna happen. And so she was like, okay, yeah, you're not well. And over a little bit of time, I kind of got it out of me that I had taken acid the night before, and I remember that she kept saying, "You've altered your perception of reality." Like, she said that a few times. I think she was trying to get through to me, because I was like very much still in that world. And yeah, later, driving to the doctor, I tried to jerk the steering wheel while she was driving. I was just, I was hoping that we would like crash into the bushes and I'd be able to escape, because again, I'm still in this storyline of trying to escape hell. So yeah, and we get there, and the doctor had told us that I was showing signs of paranoid schizophrenia, and asked if I was like hearing voices. And I remember I was just like reciting some of Manson's lyrics, as if everything that was happening had been prophesized. And I remember the doctor at one point checked my pupils with like this little light, and I had like a flashback to the night before when Manson, it was like a pitch black stage, but he had a trouble light that like mechanics use at the beginning of the song Sweet Dreams. And then like when the song like kicks in, he smashed it on the floor. So it was still having these like crazy flashbacks, and went home. The next morning, my mom had to call an ambulance to take me to the hospital, where I'd be admitted to the psychiatric ward. And I thought that this was my like final journey to hell. I remember in the ambulance just like looking up and like thinking that they were gonna like incinerate me and like sacrifice me, and that also that I was gonna take this like a rebirth in a different world, and that I would be this Jesus type figure in a new world. And we got to the hospital, and I refused the meds that they tried to give me. I was like telling them, no, I don't do drugs anymore. I'm done with that. Like I've ended up here. I thought it was like a test, and then like suddenly there were like 4 other doctors, and I'm like being pinned to the hospital bed when they gave me a needle in my butt. And so I was pretty confused and scared at that point, as if I wasn't already, but now even more, and not knowing what would happen next. Had a lot of like strange interactions with other patients who were in varying degrees of mental distress. I remember this like this lady who was about 70 or so, like in the middle of the night, came into my room and like derobed in front of me and was like muttering like about her like husband, I think. And so all that stuff was just like super confusing. Didn't understand where I was, but it definitely like seemed like hell, I guess. But then I met another patient named Ricardo, who I remember was like determined to be my friend. I think he could see I was going through a bad time, and I remember he had a Sega Game Gear, and he like passed it to me to try to like calm me down. And I remember I was still going through this whole like identity like thing and like storyline, and I was like, no, like I play Nintendo. I have a Game Boy. Like this is not me. And he leaves, and then like comes back a few minutes later and has a Game Boy. And I was like, okay, sweet, this is great. And I remember that as like a moment when I was like finally like something like flipped, and I think his like kindness, really helped me in that moment a lot. And after what felt like weeks, but was only about 3 days in the adult psych ward, and with like heavy doses of antipsychotic drugs, I slowly began coming out of this like hellish, altered state of mind, and they moved me to the youth ward with other sort of troubled kids, and I met like a bunch of other teens my age with all types of mental health issues, like depression, drug addiction, and kids who had like attempted suicide, yeah, and it was like definitely a place where I developed a lot of compassion for a lot of people, and actually made friends that I had for a little while afterwards too. But I remember one day there was a phone call in this little lounge that we had, and um, uh, the person was asking for me, and so I picked it up, and it was like this girl who was sobbing like uncontrollably on the phone, and asked me if they had told me that I had a chemical imbalance, which was true. That is what they told me, and I said yes, and then at that moment, like my social worker just like ran over and like grabbed the phone and said who is this, and then she just hung up the phone, and I remember like thinking like that it must have been somebody else who was at the show or something a few nights before, and like maybe was also going through something similar, but I never found out who that was, or why they knew my name or anything. Yeah. So I was in the hospital for about a month total, and it definitely opened my eyes to so much within myself and others. What these kids were going through, and and I'm trying to come back to my like mid-teen life, and like reintegrating into high school. I definitely felt like I had a whole different outlook on life, and I grew up pretty fast within that time. I became drawn to more meaningful friendships, not just ones that were like centered around smoking drugs. And I also had a much closer bond with my mother at that time, who had obviously been through hell, her own type of hell, for sure. And my like family as well, over time, of course. But slowly I began taking interest in like spirituality, and spent lots of time playing and writing music, and like getting really into art and painting, and all this sort of led me to discovering meditation at age 19, which I started taking seriously around age 21 or so, and like did a lot of meditation retreats through my 20s and 30s, and ended up studying Buddhism a bunch, and basically spending time sitting and looking at my mind, and trying to be a compassionate person in the world. So this like harrowing, shocking experience that I had at such a young age sort of gave me this like spiritual hunger, and artistic as well, I would say, and I definitely have it to thank for shaping who I became, and the life that I still aspire to live. Thanks a lot.
Parts of that story that we kind of laughed at, because as an audience it's shocking because it's so extreme, but for you it's also maybe a bit of a tension relief, because I think for you to experience is clearly so terrifying to go through that. I mean, hilarious maybe in hindsight, and as somebody who didn't have to do that, didn't have to experience that, but I am really grateful. I know when Greg first mentioned the idea of sharing a story to Tim, there was this kind of like point where Tim was like, wait a second, this is live? This is a live show? And I I could, there was kind of some hesitation, but I'm really, really glad that you shared. Thank you so much.
For me, it was really a special experience because I kind of got to know Tim when he was coming out of that, and I didn't really know him because I wasn't like the drug user that I am now back then. I was like on the natural vibes back then, so I wasn't like part of that crew. And Tim and I met up when he was like really exploring the art and the painting and stuff like that. So we would do jam and we got into like the painting together and things like that. So artathon, we had a 24-hour artathon in high school.
Is that the one where you painted a sandwich into your painting?
Yeah, with my face as well. There were drugs used that night too. Okay.
All right. With that, folks, we're going to take a quick break. It's intermission. Thank you so much for sticking around. We'll take 10 to 15 minutes, grab another drink, stretch your legs, and we'll be back here for an audience storyteller. I hope so.
Please come
if you're
up.
Interested in sharing, we'll have the bin set up here. Enter your name to tell a story about yourself. Thank you.
Or the character you're going to dress up as for Halloween.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to get started again. Might be a few people still kind of doing their thing, and that's fine. They'll join us. We have some entries into the basket tonight. Some surprise storytellers.
Snarl.
Oh, is my bike light over there? It is. Okay. Just so that I have it to time you. Although I also need my phone to time. That's over there, too. That's fine. Okay. While we're shaking this up, while we're waiting to hear about who our mystery storyteller is going to be, you might notice that there are some cards on your table that are probably not very legible because it's dark and it's like blue font on a blue background. But we have our story show theme next month is Out of the Blue. And we do still have space for one more storyteller, maybe two, probably just one. Out of the blue. So if that theme, appeals to you at all, if you feel like there's been experiences that you've had in your life that have happened out of the blue, get in touch with us if you feel like sharing. If that theme doesn't really resonate with you, but you're kind of interested in sharing a story, get in touch with us anyway. Send us an email, constellatestories@gmail.com, and just let us know what's up. Let us know what you feel like sharing. We always have like a few themes kind of on the horizon, but we're also very open, and we've created show themes kind of to fit people in, and it happens quite naturally and organically the way that we create these shows. So get in touch with us no matter what you feel like sharing. We are here for you. Greg and I meet with storytellers usually twice, sometimes less, sometimes more, in advance of the show to chat about their story, to kind of create a bit of an arc, to talk about meaning behind it, and to help people feel comfortable to get up on stage and share it. So you're not going through this experience alone, and our aim is to create a space for people to share a little piece of themselves and feel a bit more understood and to understand each other. So if you have even a little bit of an inkling of something that you want to share yourself, we really encourage you to do so.
Well said, darling. Well said.
Thank you. Thank
I have
you.
nothing to add.
It's almost like I've done this 17 times.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready? Ready to pick?
Julie put me on the spot like that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it? Okay.
Ready?
God, I just wish I had like a ghost dad joke right now.
I love imagining the nerves of the people who put their name in here. There's 3 of you out there right now, and you're just like, oh my God, is it me?
Thank you. Thank you. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha! Hide your face. Frankie boy. It's time.
I saw Frank, and behind I saw a face palm. Let's see what this. Come on up. Come on up.
Where would you
Do you
like
want
to?
to use the center mic here?
You sit down? Okay, I'm going to sanitize.
Oh, I already sanitized them all. Oh, but you're using it.
Yeah.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Was I the only one in there?
No?
No, you were not.
I wasn't.
No. We've had many shows where we've had one entry and we pretend that there's more.
Oh.
This one was not a lie.
I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be selected out of nobody.
There were dozens more.
Oh, good.
I think almost every, but there was one or two people that didn't put their name in. You know who you are.
Yes, you all know who you are.
I'm
Oh.
going to give you a red light notice.
Yes,
When you're at-
don't worry. I won't go past 15 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to
Okay.
give you notice at 10.
Oh,
That's
10,
like
that's good.
exactly.
Okay. Well, the story I want to tell about is, I don't know, any of you have left your home and gone off to university or school or wherever, and you've returned back home and your parent has discovered a new animal, like a dog. My mother discovered a poodle, Coco. I just want you to get that in your mind, Coco. Every time I came home, it was like, this is my home, dog. But Coco didn't realize I even existed. I was invading Coco's space. So Coco would bite me and growl at me. Coco was a poodle, by the way, a miniature poodle, like really, really little. And I thought, why am I afraid of this dog? Why does this dog hate me? I don't know. I've been away. This is Coco's home. This is not my home anymore. Fuck you, Coco. This was my home for 18 years, and I'm just coming back. So, you know what? That's the message. Coco. Anyway, one day, Coco, I don't know, I just kind of flipped Coco with my foot, and Coco landed on the other side of the room just as my mother walked in the room, and it's like, listen, seriously, it was just there by my foot when I was lifting my foot up, and I'm sorry, but it landed on the other side of the room. Sorry. Coco was okay. Sorry, there's no animals damaged in this. Well, later on, but at this at this point in the story, there's no animals damaged. Coco was fine, but my mother was in hysterics. I was out of the will, and I thought, thank you, Coco. That's my life savings. Now I have to go work on my own. Anyway, Coco and I figured out our differences, still growled at me. I didn't flip him when my mother was around. So I left, and then one day I came home, and I met my mother at the door, and she's like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm like, why are you so sad? She goes, Coco died. I'm like, yes! Oh my God, poor Coco. She said, he's in the paper. He's in the paper? Why would Coco be in the paper? Well, apparently Coco was outside my neighbor's house, and their house was on fire. Coco jumped through a window, woke them all up, barking, as it always did. Anyway, woke them up. They all got out. They forgot about Coco. Coco got consumed by the smoke, thank God. But poor thing. So Coco became a local hero. Saved a family of 7. Like, really, dog, really, if you're going out, that's a good way to go out. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, poor Coco, you're right. You're right. Actually, it was a good dog, really. It jumped in through a window, saved a family of 7. They all got out, and Coco didn't. Poor Coco. We had dinner. I went into the living room, and I'm like, what is on the, what's it called? Mantle. Thank you. Coco. I said to my mother, Coco's in the living room. And she said, yes, I had him stuffed. I'm like, what? You had Coco stuffed? I said, I thought he died in a fire, for God's sake. She said, yes, but I turned the bird side to the wall. Now I know where I get my differences from other people. And I'm looking at Coco. Coco looks beautiful, actually. Beautiful, like, glass eye. Beautiful fluff fur. And on the other side looks like an ashtray. It's like, oh. I'm like, Coco. Oh, did the light go off? No. Okay. I thought, oh my God, I've gone too long. I thought, Coco, you know what? I think you outdid me. Seriously. You're stuffed. I don't think I'll ever get stuffed. Unless I have a burnt side to me. Anyway, then I said to my mother, I said, you know what we should do? We should make Coco ashtrays. Because we could take the fluffy side and use it to slide across the table. And then we could use the burnt side to put our cigarettes out. Right? Doesn't that make great idea? Like, we could have Coco ashtrays. She wasn't keen on that at all. But yet, she had a dog that was stuffed, that was burned on one side. But anyway, that's my life.
Thanks, Frank. Coco. Okay, this brings us to our final storyteller of the evening. Thanks all for joining us. I'm really excited for this last story, particularly because it was a year ago that he first reached out to us and was like, I have a story for you. And we tried to fit him into multiple different themes, but then there was like the pandemic. Remember that? That's happening? And so it's been a whole year now since the first initial attempt of having the story be on a show. So it's a long time coming. We've met with him multiple times. He's had many life changes since then. And I'm really excited to have him here tonight. Please welcome to the stage, Toby. I didn't ask about how you wanted to be introduced. Please welcome Toby to the stage.
Good. I think I'll do this. Can we make this shorter? Because I'm not very tall.
Emma, can you tan that down a bit as well?
The camera?
Yeah.
Is that good there?
Yeah, sure. Cool. Yeah.
That's great.
Test, good. So, yeah, a lot of life changes for me over the past year. I'm a proud father of 2 and the little baby. Thank you. You know, but the real hero is the mother of my children, who's just hanging out, breastfeeding. So, clap loud enough so she can hear you. She probably doesn't care because all the hormones, but you know, it's the thought that counts. But before this, I have my family now, and it's the conventional family. But about 11 years ago, I also had another family. This family was more, furry in nature. So this was before I graduated university. I went to university at St. FX, and my girlfriend at the time, she was a year ahead of me. I had the bright idea to stop school, do a distance, and live with her in Halifax. I thought that was a clap. Whew. Don't clap that because, you know, that's a lot of money to follow your heart. But it was a nice little family. It was me, her, and 2 budgie birds, Azan and Chip. And Azan was green, Chip was blue. And quick story about how we got Chip. My younger brother, who was 11 at the time, had a budgie bird living in Newfoundland, and
he lost that bird, and shortly after that, his appendix ruptured. So Shannon and I had the bright idea to get him a replacement budgie bird, the exact same color, with the exact same name. We lacked the foresight, so long story short, he didn't want the bird. We kept the bird, and we decided to get the bird a partner, which would be Azan. So it was the four of us living in the Killam apartments on Quinpool Road, the tall ones that's above the superstore. And it's those typical apartments where you've got the living room, dining area on one side, and you've got the kitchen on the other side. You have a long hallway with bedrooms branching off of it. Our bedroom was the bedroom facing the parking lot. So, and to make ends meet, I would be working part-time, studying part-time. I worked at the Staples in Dartmouth Crossing, and she worked at the John Davis shoe store, I think, in Park Lane. So it was typical, like, inner city vibes where life is kind of tough and kind of sucky. You're just trying to, make ends meet. But it was getting further into the year, and things were kind of getting cold, and Shannon decided that, two budgie birds weren't really the warmest to cuddle with, so she wanted to get a cat. And I was pretty indifferent about it, but, I supported the idea, and we went to the PetSmart in Bears Lake. And so in the PetSmart, you've got, to the left, you've got the display area with the cats, right? So we go there one day, and there's about 6 of them staying in there, hanging out in there, and she decided on Charlie, this orange cat with, the white paws and the white tipped tail and the little Imagine symbol on his forehead, the little M there. And I think he was the only one, he's the only one who didn't approach me. And, just complete apathy, just seeing me and lying down, like, all right, you want to do whatever. So Shannon got him, and she gave me some agency because she kind of sensed the indifference in me. So she gave me agency to give him a name, and I decided to call him Charmander. Short, small, red, hates water. Very familiar story for that Pokemon. So name him Charmander, and that kind of helped a little bit. But there we were, little colorful family, blue, green, red, white, brown. It was nice for a while. Guess which one I was? Am. So like any new addition to a family, there were some learning curves. Charmander seemed very interested in Chip and Azan. So we let the birds stay in our room, gave them a little bit of freedom to hang out and just be birds, and Charmander had the rest of the space. The real estate was equitable, right, to body size. So he was also like 6 months old at the time, and he was doing the typical kitten things with everything, playing with everything, making noises all the times, especially at night, especially when I had to wake up really early in the morning to make that shitty drive from Quinpool to Dartmouth Crossing. And I'd be laying in bed 2 o'clock in the morning and hearing just every night. It was a great start to a fun partnership, but that went on for quite a while. Life moves on. Shannon gets this opportunity to get a decent insurance job, and so it's like in the afternoon. So we knew that it would be kind of a particularly long day. So we decided that we give the birds and the cat some extra food, keep the birds in the bedroom, keep the cat out, give them enough food to not starve for a couple hours. I don't know if metabolism works like that. So it wasn't really a good interview. You can tell when she came back into the car. So I decided, all right, let's treat her to some hot chocolate and then we'll go back home. So we got home, opened the door. It was like the sun was setting at this time. As we opened the door, it's like someone had a pillow fight with blue and green feathers. Looking towards my left, I see Charmander on the couch, looking completely satisfied for whatever reason we didn't know at that time. But we slowly put 2 and 2 together because there was a chill in the air. Felt it before we saw it, the beam of light coming from our bedroom. small little beam of light of the setting sun, because again, we're facing the parking lot of the superstore. Look down the hallway, and I see a big figure and a small figure and a slightly smaller figure. What looks like to be Azan, green feathers, what I could see, and maybe his legs next to him. So before going down that before dealing with that, we're like, all right, let's look for Chip. Maybe he's around here somewhere, alive. Hoping for the best. It's daunting trying to look for a tiny bird you may or may not alive, but it seems as though Charmander knew the answer before we did. So about half an hour goes by, we decide, all right, not making any leeway, let me just go and take care of Azan. I get close to Azan, and I'm getting closer to him and getting kind of a weird feeling, because maybe my brain is processing something that's happening before I even realize it. I'm looking at Azan, and I can see his chest moving slowly up and down. He's still alive. Barely even. Maybe he's just clocked out. But next to him, it's not green legs. It's blue. So that kind of solved the mystery of where Chip went. But it was, needless to say, a really fucked up situation. Needless to say. However, my mind couldn't help but look at Charmander sitting on the couch right now. And he's there, like, he's looking like a king. Because typical life of a house cat, you have dry food, you have canned food, all this processed shit, but he just had a hunt, right? Like, he just tasted something that's real, something that's not. And in a really, really, really messed up way, I couldn't help but admire that. He got something that was more real than I had been experiencing since, I got there. So, in a poetic way, after that incident, my relationship with Shannon kind of drifted apart. I wanted to finish school, so I'm not sure if I mentioned that I was doing school in Antigonish. I decided to move back to Antigonish and just get it done, get that paper. Naturally, Shannon didn't want Charmander. Don't know why. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Because that little spark just kind of like, all right, maybe there's something more to this cat now. And so we're there. So move from Killam Apartments to this nice little first floor apartment or house at the beginning of Hawthorne Street in Antigonish. It's right there, where the intersection is, near to the Wheel Pizza. The beginning of Hawthorne Street, and life was pretty rad. It was the summertime. Charmander had the space to go and explore, ruin the local ecosystem. What cats do. Hindsight, probably not. Yeah, whatever. So one particular night, I was hanging. So in the apartment, there was like a front porch with a couch in the front, and you can see the road heading up Hawthorne Street. And there's a giant tree in front of the house. And Charmander will often hang out in the tree. I'd hang out on the porch. One night, I can see him looking down at me, not just physically, but also condescendingly. It's like, yeah, dude, what up, So I'm like, all right. So I decide, and it's a tree with some branches, so it's easy to climb. So I climb the tree, face to face with him, and it's like, he didn't expect it. He was like, okay, all right, cool. So he decides to jump down and look up at me, and I do the same. I follow him. All right, cool. Plop down, try to give him a pat on the head, and he darts across the road, sits down, waits for me. I'm like, okay, this is an interesting game that we're playing. So I follow him. And this happens, we're going up Hawthorne Street, and this is happening quite frequently. He'll stop, wait for me, and so before I realize he's taking me for a walk, which is kind of fitting, right? Hyper-intelligent animal. So it took a couple of stop goes for me to confirm, but yes, we were going for a walk. We walked up Hawthorne Street for a little bit, and it was getting late, getting a nippy, so I said, all right, Charmander, I'm going to head back. I'll see you home. And as I started walking back, he started following me. And I mean, it could have been one of those awkward coincidences when you're walking down a hallway and chatting with somebody and you just go the same direction. Like, oh no, so. But it wasn't, because I tried to dart down another road, up Pleasant Street, and he followed me. So this was like really friggin' cool because, dogs are capable of doing this stuff, but this was a cat we're talking about, right? Like cats don't. I've never really encountered that in my life. I never thought I'd experience a cat walking side by side with a human. What about side by side with a friend? He could do that. So we'd go for walks all over town, all over campus, and climbing trees and stuff almost every night. And there were a couple times he'd go out for days, but he'd always come back, right? He'd prove me wrong, and he'd always come back. It was pretty good times. It was pretty interesting, pretty good relationship that we had. Graduation came along, and I got that paper and decided to do some job hunting. Times were getting a bit stressful. I had negative money in my bank account, and life was starting to, size up. But I managed to nab a pretty cool-sounding job at the Blue Cross in Moncton, which is around the same distance from Antigonish to there as it is from Halifax to Antigonish. So it's not really a trip I hadn't made before with Charmander. It was time to plan the next stage of life. Now, I remember the drive to Moncton. It was, so Charmander in his kennel on the passenger's floor. And after New Glasgow, I started smelling some manure from, I guess the passing farms. I don't know how that works in springtime. But, as I kept on driving, the smell got more and more rancid, and it didn't take long for me to realize, behind Charmander's bloody murder cries, he was just swimming in his own shit. And it's not fun, not a really good start to the next phase of life. But we got to my destination, hosed him off, and he was right as rain after that. But again, kind of, shitty for that to happen. And life in Moncton was pretty interesting. I was there are a lot of characters in Moncton. I loved it. Definitely a different vibe from Halifax. It was a bit rougher, and slowly I was getting a bit apprehensive about our new life. I could see in Charmander's eyes whenever we heard gangs of cats in the distance. We lived on Lute Street. It's like next to a giant church in between the main roads, and we can hear cats in the distance, like gangs of cats, like fighting. And I can see it in his eyes that he wasn't too fond of this new move. And for me, I had been working long hours in this new job, and I just was also slowly realizing this wasn't really fun for me as well. I could tell that he was defeated as I was. One night, after one long day, I came home, and it was dark. Charmander was there waiting for me. I could tell he was defeated as I was when I turned on the light, because I could see a familiar awareness in his face. He had scratches around his eyes. Part of his ear was missing. A whisker was gone. Poor dude tried to make friends like me, but all he met were thieves of innocence. But it was okay because we had each other, and that's all. That's really all that mattered, right? So life went on for a bit, as it had to, and there were like one or two stretches of days that he'd do the disappearing act, but he'd return. But there's this one particular stretch he was gone for a bit longer than usual, and I didn't think anything too much of the time because, well, he'd always come back. I was out for a jog one day and did my laps around the block, and on my last lap, I stopped to have a chat with one of my neighbors. And one of the few friendly faces that I had that I knew around town. Luckily, they lived like one house down from me. So after a conversation, I started back to my apartment, but I had this feeling to ask like if she'd seen Charmander. So I did, and they didn't know who I was talking about, which, because I didn't really go on my walks with Charmander as I did in Antigonish. So I clarified who I was referring to, and their demeanor started to change. Fuck. All right. Yeah. So I sat down. And next to them, and she started to tell me about this incident the other day. She witnessed a red cat crossing the road, only to be hit by a speeding taxi. Taxi didn't stop, but she ran to get the poor creature on the road, and she called the SPC for help. I mean, it could have been any cat, right? Like, there's tons of cats in the city. We heard them countless through the night. After calling the SPCA the next day to calm my suspicion, I went to the SPCA the next day to calm any suspicion I had. They had me wait outside a room while they prepared whatever it was that they were preparing. And they let me in the room, and my heart started to be both hot and cold at the same time, that familiar feeling of dread. The vet opened the door to the room, gave me a gestured head nod with pursed lips. Walking into the room, cold tiled flooring, and in the center of the room there was a metal table with a slab on it, and laying on his side was Charmander. Indents in his body were the size of a tire. Cold and frozen. And I want to say that he had a dignified look on his face, but cats in particular don't really die like that. There's no pride, just a friend wondering where his other friend was in his final moments. So the next few weeks were a meek blur. I visited my neighbor and thanked them for calling the SPCA. We chatted for a bit, and she shared my grief. She didn't want to go into too much detail the other day, just in case it wasn't Charmander, rightfully so. She began to tell me about Charmander's moments after being struck. He lay in her arms for a time, as if accepting the circumstances that was brought onto him. And I sat there for a time, listening but not listening, with bittersweet solace, knowing that at least he wasn't alone in his final moments. So I never really got to have like a closure. Like, this is the first time I really spoke in length apart from the preparation. I really shared in authenticity what happened, and I kind of consider this as a epilogue or one of those things that people say at funerals. But I did have a song that I wanted to share. I'm not going to need the music. I just realized that the key that the music is way too high, and I want to preserve whatever. Yeah. So just give me like a moment to kind of get into it. Again, no need for the music. Farewell to all the earthly remains, no burdens, no further debts to be paid. At last can rest his weary bones, weight of the world all falls away in time. Goodbye to all the plans that we made. No contracts, I'm free to do as I may. No hunger, no sleep except to dream, mild and warm, safe from all harm. Come, good riddance to all the thieves, to all the fools that stifled me. They've come and gone and passed me by. Good riddance to all. Farewell to all the earthly remains, no burdens, I'm free to do as I may. No hunger, no sleep except to dream, mild and warm, safe from all harm. Come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you for singing also. I love that turned into a cappella. I think it was really wonderful without the track. Also wasn't planned, but together the second half of our show turned into a bit of a pet cemetery situation, didn't it? Yeah. Interesting that. Weird. What do I have to say? Thank you all for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That guy's going to be a good dad.
Already is.
Yes.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it so much. Love sharing these nights with you. As I mentioned, end of November, out of the blue, there's still some space. If you don't want to share a story, that's cool. Buy a ticket, come back, or tune into the live stream. We don't have a show in December because it's the end of December and, there's stuff going on. And in January, we're planning another anniversary show. We don't have any details for that yet, but after our first year of Constellate, we did an anniversary show at the bus stop where we invited some storytellers to return and either share the same story, kind of updated, or a different story. And it was sort of like a year in review. It's been 2 years since we've done that, but because of the pandemic, collectively, we've had about 1 year worth of shows. So we'll be doing that at the end of January. Details to come in terms of venue, etc. But it's a really nice kind of moment of reflection and a time to check back in with storytellers. If you follow Constellate regularly, either on the podcast or here live, it's a really nice way to kind of reflect back and review and re-meet people.
That first anniversary show that we had was amazing. We had it at the Bus Stop Theater. So it will be a larger venue. Shout out to Good Robot before I start plugging the next new venue. But Good Robot provides us the space for free so that all of the ticket sales can go directly to the charities. At our anniversary show, it will be a bigger venue, so we'll be able to pack a lot more people in, and we'll be able to make a lot more money for the charity, but we will be paying a price for it. So shout out to Good Robot for providing this monthly and are always providing support for us. I wanted to say some things about today's show. I think it was absolutely spooktacular.
I'm so glad you think so.
That the whole animal theme was great. It reminded me of I heard the other day something about what it is that ghost pandas eat. Bamboo. I did some Googling. But no, I had an absolutely wonderful evening this evening, and thank you to all of the storytellers. It takes quite a lot to come up here to tell your stories. If you find any dimes underneath your table this evening, it's because we are haunted here at Good Robot. There's a fucking weird... Okay, so I've been working here as a bartender for about 4 years now, and there's a ghost that leaves dimes underneath a table. And I was here after a weird... we had a burlesque thing up here, a burlesque practice night, and we were sitting up in the mezzanine, and dimes dropped from the ceiling.
It's the ghost!
Yeah, okay, never mind. I'm done talking about that. If that freaks you out a little bit, you'll get home safely. Everybody will get home safely. If it's raining a little bit, like that's you're even better off because ghosts don't go out in the rain because it dampens their spirits. I got it. I got another one in there.
Good one. I'm going to take the mic back here. Again, I would just like to say thank you for your generosity tonight in terms of supporting Out of the Cold. If you would like to give a little bit more, our donation tube is at the back of the room, and you can shove some bills or some coins in there on your way out. It's much appreciated. We'll get it all there. I feel like there was one more announcement.
I also want to say something about stuff going on tonight. I don't think we talked about the webcams, but we do have 2 webcams here because we're live streaming. We live stream all of our events. So if you can't make it to our next show because we sell out every time, you just tune in 8 p.m. on that last Sunday of the month. We have our live shows, and you can find us on twitch.tv/Constellate Stories. Thank you, all the people that are watching us right now. Also, we're on Instagram, and if you like the music that we play tonight, we curate all of our music every night, and we have like curated songs on our Spotify.
What?
You looked at me weird.
You just took a peek at my armpit hair. Okay, that's enough, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Happy Halloween!